This is Our View, the television voice of the proud members of the Washington Federation of State Employees, the people who work for you. Following months of negotiations, Federation members now have a new contract. The state employees' goal in reaching that contract included not only their pay and working conditions, but the priority of top quality state services.
There's no question. I think it's really important to our members that public services are provided in the best way possible. And because of the recession, there have been a lot of issues with workload, and we hoped in this contract to reduce the workload so that services could be provided in a more efficient manner. So for the first time in 6 years, state employees have received a pay increase. They've had nothing but zeros or negative numbers over the past 6 years, and they will see a 3% increase in the first year of this contract and a 1.8% increase in the second year. A number of different classifications that are way behind their peers in the private sector will also see other increases because of attrition and retention problems. The health benefits were, for the most part, preserved where they have been, which state employees value, and there have been a number of other improvements to working conditions, callback bid systems that state employees value tremendously. Certainly the contract does not make up what has been lost over the past 6 years. If you look at the cost of living over that period of time, in the Seattle area it's gone up at least 10%. But this contract does make up a small portion of that, and we believe incrementally as we move forward we will be able to make up a good portion of that over time. As I mentioned earlier, in addition to the cost of living increases, a number of job classifications, over 4,000, did receive additional increases to bring them up to market rates. And so we think that makes a considerable dent in what has been lost over the past 6 years.
The newest Middle East terror group, ISIS, is described daily by our national media sources as an extremist religious mob. According to William Spriggs, economist for the AFLCIO, ISIS wouldn't amount to much if that were the entire story. The terror group needs recruits, and most of them come from among populations who for years have been left out of the economy and see no hope of change.
ISIS is really being led by people who are from outside the Middle East. And this kind of extremism is what happens when you have societies that are failing, when they aren't providing. People who are on the margin, who have been left out, start to make up ideas for why am I left out? What's wrong? What's the imbalance here? And that's the unfortunate thing. So things that we believe should not make sense to anyone suddenly make sense to them through a prism that we wouldn't accept, but they do accept because society isn't meeting its needs. And so they're willing to listen to other paradigms. In this case, an unfortunate paradigm, one that is obviously off. It's society's failure to provide jobs, rising living standards for normal people. And so people who are on the periphery in societies are locked out even more. And so if it's failing for the median, it's obviously failing for those on the other tail of the distribution. And that extremism will come up. So it's up to labor to be the voice for all workers and to refocus policies so that it's not growth, but the well-being of citizens that matters.
If you're faced with home repairs or remodeling that require the services of a skilled contractor, then you need to know that the Department of Labor and Industries has tools to help you. Construction work is expensive, and it's a lot more expensive if the unlicensed, unbonded, and unqualified is signed on to do the work. You can prevent this with a visit to the L&I website.
You can verify a contractor's registration, bond, and insurance right on our website. It is public information. They're mandated to have that information on file with the Department of Labor and Industry. You can actually see their bond and insurance expiration dates, the values of those pieces from our website, or you can call our 800 number and verify that information. You can also see if they have employees, that they have their employees covered with workers' comp so that you're protected while people are working in your home. People will come in and give you an unbelievable price. They have a few materials left over. They can do this 2-day for a very low price because they had some additional materials left over, concrete or paving materials for instance, and they can give you a really good deal today. So if they're pressuring you that today is the day, chances are that's a huge red flag, a good warning to look out for. Some other scams are where they need a large deposit down, and before you've got the chance to verify their information, before you've got the chance to check their information, they've got your money in their hand. You know, you give us 20% down today and we will write up the contract and have it to you tomorrow, and then you never see them again. They weren't licensed, and unfortunately in that position there's no protection. So in Washington State, a contractor is required to give you a disclosure statement letting them know who has the right to lien your property. If they go unpaid, they have a right to lien your property. So it's important that you get that disclosure statement from the contractor, as well as withhold your final payment until you get a release of lien. 3 basic pieces are to verify that the contractor that you're hiring is registered with a bond and insurance, check the references, and don't pay in full until the job is done. Make sure that you're happy. Use your final payment as verification that the work is done. I'm passionate about the work that I do because I find the value in it. It's about protecting consumers, but it's also about providing information so that you can protect yourself. I hear stories every day about harmed consumers where their money was taken, seniors that are often targeted in this market. They a lot of times will have the assets and not necessarily know the tools that are available to verify the information. We would like to believe that everybody is as true and real in the story that they're telling us, but you do have to verify. You can trust the people coming into your home, but you have to verify their information.
The recent change in our state's marijuana laws has given the enforcement agents of the Washington State Liquor Control Board some new challenges and responsibilities. Those state employees are trained and certainly ready for the task, but will there be a need for many more of these officers to control the sale and possession of these controlled substances?
With the coming of these businesses out there, and we'll say like the retail businesses, where the storefronts are there and the public can purchase marijuana products, you have more availability to the youth. There's more opportunity for these kids, instead of going through their illicit streams, going to the storefronts and hoping that they can get one of these products. So some of the measures that we've instituted was mandatory signage and mandatory training for the employees. And the signage includes no persons under the age of 21 is allowed on premise. And with that, the measures that are instituted are within law, and if there's somebody under the age of 21 there, it would be a violation for that business. What we're looking at there is to ensure that there's nothing going on as far as giving out free samples, that there's no youthful persons there, that there's no products that they're authorized to be in that facility, such as non-marijuana related products. Although it is an arduous task, we do have dedicated enforcement for the retail businesses, for the storefronts that are selling it, and for the non-retail businesses. We are getting as much education out to us as possible so we can put it out to the local communities, the local police departments, any other agencies that are involved with this, to provide this support group to ensure that these businesses are following through with what they need to be following through. We will need more people. It's a task that is put upon us by the voters, and the liquor board was selected to implement and license the business for this once illegal substance, now legal, and these businesses coming out there, it's kind of the backwards effect. If you look at the liquor side of it, you have your manufacturers and distributors, which are the non-retails, and then you have your storefronts, which have increased. So they're the ones that require, all of them require attention, but that frontal attention from enforcement. Well, on the other side of it, if you look at the producers and processors on the marijuana side, there's going to be significantly more of them than there will be at the retail stores. So we're tasked with ensuring that they're following all the rules and requirements, and in the initial stages, we're just going to have to be there more. And I'd say more people definitely would be absolutely wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Ross Reeder has this report on our history of the labor movement, and some goes back many centuries.
You know how time flies. Well, it does. There are a couple of big labor history dates coming in 24 months. If you're of a mind to commemorate such things, watch for the news about the centennial of the November 5, 1916 Everett, Washington massacre. The event was one of the Wobblies, the Industrial Workers of the World, major free speech demonstrations. And also, note that something will no doubt be commemorated in Centralia, Washington on Veterans Day. Wednesday, November 19, is the centennial of the day the state of Utah executed Joe Hill. Recent scholarship has established that Joe Hill did not commit the murder for which he was executed. On a more positive note, in Washington state, women got the vote on November 8, 1910. I know my grandmother was celebrating. The first recorded strike in human history was in Egypt on November 23, 1170 BC. Seems the builders of a pyramid were not receiving enough pay nor enough straw for making the bricks. The pharaoh settled when he became concerned that he would die before the structure was finished and he wouldn't have any appropriate place for his body and the etc. that went into a tomb.
This has been Our View, brought to you by the members of the Washington Federation of State Employees. We remind you, when you get a paycheck for your hard work, you don't give up your rights. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next month.